We're live on Facebook Live.
You are live. You live everywhere.
Did you tell you?
You're live. Oh, I'm sorry.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Rick's Room. I am your host, Mr. Rick. We are broadcasted here on IntellectualRadio.com and iHeartRadio station. And thank you so much for tuning in with us on my new time on Mondays at night, 9 p.m. Monday nights. If this is your first time hanging out in the room, welcome. This is a place where we just kick back, have adult conversations that confront stereotypes, discuss current events and any other social actions or whatever else just comes up in the room. All I ask is that you remember to remain respectful. And if you're back again for another backfire, you know the deal. Go ahead and grab your adult beverage and get comfortable in a chair, maybe on a couch, on the floor, wherever. You know the deal. Just stay off my bed. And we are live streaming on Facebook. Y'all go ahead and wave to Facebook over there. Say, hey, Facebook.
Hey, Facebook.
And then we got IntellectualRadio.com and YouTube all around these other cameras, so we can wave at all of them and say thank you so much for tuning in this evening. If you have any ideas that you want to share in Rick's Room, or you have a question or concern about something, feel free to shoot me an email at ricksroom2, that's RIXROOM, the number 2, at gmail.com, and you just might have your show aired live here on in Rick's Room. So listen, a couple of things here. First, I want to make sure that I get a chance to say happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there who we are recognizing. It is because of you that we can do what we do. We can live the life that we live. So for those veterans that have served in serve our country or continue to serve, right? Thank you so much for what it is that you do. And also, I wanted to say a happy Founders Day to the ladies of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, founded back in 1922. Those lovely poodles doing their thing. So big shout out to you ladies as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started, y'all. It's a good show tonight. You might have seen a post. We're talking tonight about losing my religion. And I got a couple of people here joining me in the room. First and foremost, let me go ahead and get started with an introduction. Well, a woman who doesn't need an introduction by any means, because she has the infamous He Said, She Said every Sunday here at IntellectualRadio.com from 2 to 4. Y'all welcome Miss Wanda B to the room. How you doing, lovely?
I am well. Thank you for letting me in your room. I sat on your bed, but I got up as soon as
Thank
you
you
said
so
get
much.
up.
I didn't even ask you to take your shoes off. Just don't sit on my bed. That's all.
got up.
That's all I ask. So how's it going, Miss Wanda? How you doing today?
I am well. I'm excited for a good conversation today.
Listen, and you know what? So some of y'all may not know, but Miss Wanda B is probably one of the biggest inspirations for Rick's Room. So I'm always grateful when she stops by the room to say hello and hang out with us as well. So thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And also, so this gentleman here, y'all, I don't know if you know how big of a deal he is, but I am honored and humbled to have a gentleman here sharing his story with us to talk about and confront some of those stereotypes that we need to confront. Y'all help me welcome the ambassador, Mr. London Benton is in the room. What's going on, sir?
What's going on, man?
How you doing tonight?
I'm good.
Yeah, coming all the way. Hey, listen, thank you for taking the time out to be here, man. You got, just big things happening, man. You got some big things happening, so I'm glad you can swing by the room. Y'all don't go ahead and get your adult beverages. I want to go ahead and do a quick cheers to Monday.
Cheers to Monday.
Cheers to Monday, because it's first day for some of y'all in the work week, and you made it. You made it through your Monday. So my Monday is actually tomorrow. So I get a chance to kick it up today. Today's my Sunday, actually. You know what I mean? I like that. That works for me. Before we get started, I want to let you all know that this show tonight is being brought to you in part by Mr. Eric Lane. Eric Lane National. Get your financial planning done with Agent Eric Lane from New York Life. Give him a call, 617-901-9460, or email Eric at elane, that's ELAYNE, at ft.newyorklife.com to schedule a consultation. Tonight's also being brought to you by the Cookout on Wheels. Check out my friends rolling in the Cookout on Wheels and plan your next big event. Whether you're planning something for your office, your family, your school, or even a wedding, which is the new thing, let the Cookout your dining needs. Call 630-708-7820 to schedule your event, and find or follow them on Facebook on the Cookout on Wheels. That's the Cookout on Wheels, #friends fed here. Yo, they got some really good food too, y'all. If y'all you ever need it, they're there. They're there. They're mobile because it's, you know,
Oh,
food
I
truck.
should have called them to come by here.
Yeah, I mean, you always can. You always can. They can
Okay.
always stop by. They can always stop by. All right, so let's go ahead and get this started. So we're gonna get started with some. If I can ask Mr. London, you know, you have an incredible story, man, and you have some outstanding things that you're doing for the LGBTQ community, for starters, but just as a whole, so many impacts that you're making. Give us a little bit. Let's get some people caught up here. Talk to us a little bit about the backstory, and how the message that you got going on got started.
Which message?
Right, because there are a lot. I'll tell you what. Let's do this. Let's start with give us a little bit about your backstory. I know we got the article here that's in Positively Aware that you were featured in, and we can talk about that too as well. But what sparked that? Where did that come from? What's your story? What's the history there?
Well, I was hit up by this guy named Rick, and I had been introduced.
Not
to
me,
him.
by the way. What I mean? No, not this Rick.
Not this Rick.
I'm not making money like that yet, but you know, we'll see what happens. Rick's room might be there
Right.
soon. You know what I mean? I got the ambassador London here. You know what I mean? So it could happen. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, but I got hit up, and they introduced me to the guy named Rick, and it was my friend named Ebony. And she knew a little bit about my story of being a preacher's kid and, you know, being same gender loving and finding out that I was HIV positive at 23. She and I had worked on some things together as far as the University of Chicago Hospital. So she told them a little bit about my story, and they contacted me, and they was like, well, we want to do a story, man. I'm like, oh, okay. You know, so I was kind of nervous, being a preacher's kid. I want to tell So everybody, you know, when I they're like, well, you know, those old school ones, they hit me up in my inbox like, okay, so what is this about? Like, they wanted to be my name all over, and I'm like, no, I'm not calling. I said I do name with a story already, and coincidentally, they were looking for how religion and HIV has come together, and how through the years, and definitely how the church and LGBT and HIV all mixed together, but people really don't want to talk about it. And so I just felt that it was my job to.
Okay. Yeah, and so and a couple of the viewers that are watching here too said that they're having a little difficulty hearing you, and that's only because it's over there. So probably not necessarily this, but that's just for the Facebook Live people, so they can hear you over there too as well. So man, and then that's incredible when you talk about, you know, being the preacher's kid, right? And even just the same gender loving. You know, what were some of the difficulties, man, that you had to deal with being the preacher's kid? You know, I mean, when did they find when were you outed? Like when did that happen?
I was outed.
I was gonna say, were you outed or did you come out?
A little bit of both.
Oh, okay.
But I was definitely outed. But it came out, you know, with father before November of '97. You know, my father knew about some things, and especially about me being molested in my early years. And we kind of talked about it. We didn't share a lot of it. He tried to hide some of it, you know, just because he's a preacher. He was trying to save the image of the church and just so on and so on. But yeah, it was a person that brought it out, and Sunday morning service and Sunday night service. And so because I'm Pentecostal in Church of God in Christ, we have Sunday service all day.
Wait. I'm sorry. I don't know if you were Kojic. Ooh.
Yeah.
That must have been rough.
Yeah.
We're going to get into some Kojicness too a little later on in the show, just so y'all know. Be prepared for it. I saw something today I got questions about.
Yeah. Well, he, you know, being Kojic, and my daddy old school, he was born 1924. So it was really like, okay, this is an image. This is what I don't want people to know, and just so on and so on. And it got out in between services. And so by Sunday night service, everybody in the church knew. And I'm standing up there trying to sing a solo. And then I realized that everybody knew.
How'd you realize?
Because people behind me are whispering like, Jesus. And so I could hear their conversation firsthand. And so I'm 15 years old.
No.
And so I'm like, oh my God, like this is not going to be well.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't well. Things didn't go well. And then, it was my dad right before he died. Like I said, it was November of 97. He died April of 98.
Oh.
So being 15 years old and set down by your father, a Pentecostal 1924 father, he said some things that was pretty hurtful, and I'm learning now to work through that as a 36-year-old man, to hear the words that your father say to you at 15, and then you have to try to live past that as a 36-year-old man. And so I'm finding out that I'm that 15-year-old boy that died in his father's room, hearing some of the words. And so I'm 36 now, and I feel like I have not grown to be 36. My
church, was it?
Yeah, it was people in the church. Most of my
Wait, someone in the church was
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, most of my experiences were in the church or people of the church. I really didn't date people outside the church because we was in church all day. We had Sunday morning service all day.
Yeah, when you
And
grew
we
up
had-
Pentecostal or any
was
of those,
Monday,
it's
and
an
then-
all-day
And
service.
being a preacher's kid, my dad pretty much lived at the church. And so we were there all the time. And Monday was all day, Tuesday was all day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I was pretty much at the church every day. And so it was just different situations, different things that happen. And
Give me, if I can, real quick, let me ask you a question, London, because I think that something that most people don't know, and I want to share this for individuals who, may not be really heavily involved in the church. Something that happens or has taken place, at least in our generation, right, growing up, was the church had so much influence, right, has so much impact, especially if you're involved in church. But just us as a Black community, right, the church has a lot of impact. And here in Chicago, unfortunately, I say this unfortunately, that the Bible Belt from the South migrated up to Chicago, right? So we really still have a lot of that mentality in the Chicagoland area, but just in the Black community in general. What were some of the things that you think are attributed to that being raised in that type of an environment that now you're confronting, like specifically some of the battles that you deal with on a day-to-day basis, so people get an understanding of what that's like or what that has done?
Well, definitely in the Black community, it's not the father that raised the family, it's the faith. And so whatever the faith says, the father adheres to, and then he teach his family to live after. And so if the faith says that this shouldn't be happening or this should be happening, then it's up to the father to go home and teach, because a lot of them still believe that women should keep silent in the church. And if you have any questions, you should ask your husband because he's the head of your house. But the head of your husband is the church. And so whatever the church is teaching the family goes along with. And so sometimes that was good and sometimes it's bad because and especially being a preacher's kid, he was my natural father, but he was also my spiritual father. So it was whatever he said had a double effect because it was coming from my father, but it was also, they teach you that the pastor is the mouthpiece of God and he speaks for God. He's the earthly mouthpiece of God. So whatever he says, God said to him. And so that's what you should live by. And sometimes the preachers mix their bones into the meat of God, and then you have to sit back in church and pick out what God really said and what didn't he say. And sometimes you get lost because it intermingles and you don't know if God said it or if that was their personal opinion. And sometimes it bleeds over to each other. And I tell people all the time, anytime that you mix God's truth with man's opinion, it equals a lie any day. That's any day.
I like how you said that. And
Yeah.
very interesting, because I've never thought of it the way you just explained it, that they're mixing their truth with God's truth,
And
and how confusing and for someone to determine what is your opinion,
Right.
because you're supposed to be that mouthpiece. And so I could see where that's very confusing.
And I'm not the only, and that's why when he said it, I have a unique story. I really don't.
You know,
I
it's
decided to tell it.
fascinating how common actually the story
yeah,
is.
Is it really?
It happens.
It unfortunately
And
is.
Interesting.
It unfortunately is. And I think, you know what, in our generation, like I just turned 37, 36, you know, in our generation, a couple of things happened. And I don't know why, but I find that there are more and more I hear stories about young boy, the family, and the unfortunate thing that happens is, you know, men who grow up to be same gender loving get attributed to that happening because it's a result of that happening, when in all essence that's not necessarily it at all, but it becomes a correlation, and that they kind of correlate that person's sexuality to what happened. Unfortunately, the church then wants to do all kinds of things, as we know, like pray things away. And in fact, there was a clip that I said we will get into a little bit later on that had something very similar to that. But I was talking to a good friend last night. Shout out to Miss Kimber, do a great life coach. We were having a good conversation, and one of the things that she brought up was how an individual may have to battle their whole idea of what relationships are like, right? As they get older, they still have the almost the what do you call it? Sabotaging. Excuse me. I haven't even had a whole glass of wine yet. Self-sabotaging.
Sure, that's what you say now.
You know,
Sabotaging.
I was waiting.
I hear that
waiting
wine.
for the room. But you know, they self-sabotage based on or because of what has happened to them in the past, what they had to deal with growing up, and essentially what they were taught in those formative years, you know, in church, and the impact that's made. And you know, London, I want to ask you, what are some of those? Do you said that, you know, you're struggling with coming to the age of 36, right? Are some of those struggles, or what are some of those specific struggles, man, that you find yourself still battling to this day?
I definitely, I always tell people that, you know, and this is not to be condescending to the Black community, but I do believe that Bill can bring Bob home and the family will play Twister, but Pookie can't bring Ray Ray home and say that this is my boyfriend.
Here's the thing. All right, I'm not bringing Pookie home either,
You know,
or Ray Ray, to be quite honest. Your name ain't Raymond.
but, you know,
No, that's not.
and, you know,
Jokes.
The family feels
Sorry,
like,
Pookie.
Right, I know. No
Sorry,
shade. No
Ray
shade to
Ray.
Pookie or Ray Ray.
Oh, Ray Ray. Boy, take one.
You know what I mean?
Well, nothing against y'all.
Not at all.
Not,
If you
don't.
watch it, I don't know if you watch it though.
But yeah, but
He's
they-
not even your friend.
Oh.
Sorry, Pookie.
But yeah, but a lot of them they can't deal with, and so especially in the Black community, in the Black same gender loving community, we cannot, we don't tend to build or want to build relationships with each other. It's let's get a quickie and go home because I can't take you home, and so we don't even look forward to building with each other as the Caucasian community would, because they feel more accepted to bring their partner home. And so the church has a lot to do with that in the Black community. And it's like I said, the family is being led by the pastor, and the pastor is being led by what he feels the faith is saying. And sometimes it's not what the faith is always saying, it's what he feels the faith is saying. And so now it comes down to, if he was taught, if he was taught by, great grandma, and they still have the same mentality, and nobody is going to school, they're just passing this down. And so everybody is feeling this rippled effect in the church, and people are dying. People are dying in the church because of it. I know a lot of my friends and people who I have buried who lived the life that I came from up under, and they're not here today because they committed suicide. Or if they didn't commit suicide, either they turn away from God or they go to substance abuse. And it's a lot in the Black gay community, especially preachers' kids. You hear more preachers' kids, and the people, I'm I'm an ambassador for Preacher's Kids. I try to
figure out
wondering.
like where did ambassador come from? Like, are you doing something for some countries here?
Not just be the face of them. I'm the face of the ones that won't step out, because it's a lot of us.
Well, they need that though.
It's a lot of us. And it's a lot of us that are dealing with it, and either they turn away from the faith, go to substance abuse, commit suicide, or they leave God. They just turn into all type of things. And then the people say, well, preachers' kids are the worst kids, and we're actually not the worst.
Yo, I used to say that all the time. I know quite a few of y'all, man.
It's pretty wild there.
Right, exactly. Y'all be out there.
We're not the worst ones.
Not the worst. Okay.
If two children do the exact same thing, they hold the preacher's kid on a totally different standard than the regular child. Like two children could do the exact same thing, but preacher's kid is going to get more scolding because they should know better. No, we're still both children.
That's true.
We're still human.
That's true.
You know, and we're held to a higher standard, which most of us fail at. And when we fall hard, because the way the church paints a picture of what the first family should look like. You know, and I talk about it in the article that the same people who were the helping hands were still the hurting hands at the same time. You know, and some of them came around not because they loved us. Then as we got older, we realized that, and we understood that they really didn't love us in the beginning anyway. They loved our father, or they loved our mother that was the pastor, but we were the pawn to get to the mother or the father, to get closer to the pastor. And so now we develop this false sense of relationship of who should we trust? Was that real? You know, and now you go through that even as an adult. You're like, okay, now I don't trust nobody. Now I won't open up to you. Now I will push people away. And you start pushing people away who was really there to help you, but you don't know how to decipher that, because for all your life, they were the hands that helped. They were the deacons. They were the trustees. They were the ones that came to clean out the house or change this or take your daddy here or take your mom there. And then you're like, they didn't love me in the beginning.
That's because they wanted to sleep with you. So
and the pastor.
And the pastor. Look, I'm sorry.
Stop.
I can't.
Stop.
You know what? You're right. But I'm saying that you find it so much in the church. You do. You find it so much in the church that there. I mean, it goes from the conductor is sleeping, who may not be same gender loving outwardly, but is sleeping with all of the tenor section, the whole tenor section.
May I ask this question? Because you bring up a point, and you mentioned some of the things that happen with PK kids, that sometimes it could be that they substance abuse, suicide, but there's probably also people who just hide, stay within the church.
Yeah.
Hidden.
And not only do they hide, but they pass that mentality down where they find, and you know, in the church, people tend to sleep with people, which I was talking to Rick about. You know, they taught us that you don't sleep with the lay members, because if you're a preacher's kid, you sleep with another preacher's kid.
Why?
Because at the end of the day, if it got out, both of you had something to lose. And so you were held to that bond. It's almost like a fraternal bond. You say, okay, well, I'm not going to tell on you. And I know you're not going to tell on me, because if your daddy church found out and my daddy church found out, both of us going to be thrown.
Then who's going to officiate the wedding would be the question that I would have. But you're right. You're absolutely right.
And it's for real. And a lot of them still hide. And I know a lot of them who,
are still hiding.
Yeah.
May I ask you, did
married, had children, and they.
Oh wow.
Yo, y'all saw that? Did you see that Facebook page that was exposing DL guys in Chicago?
I didn't bring that up.
I'm just saying. I was so upset about it. I was so
not
upset
to bring up
but
gossip, but I don't know. So can you fill me in on
well,
what
so
you're
it was
talking about?
it wasn't gossip. I saw the page actually. They were
okay.
I actually saw.
I don't want nobody to get mad at us.
I didn't get. They didn't.
Allegedly.
I didn't ask to be a member of the page, but I saw the page. People were doing some screenshots of the page,
which is
and they were.
don't sip your tea over
right.
there in London.
It just said red wine.
Rick's
tea.
room tea.
You know what I'm
Rick's
saying?
room tea.
I didn't either, but I saw some pictures from it, and they were allegedly exposing men who are on the DL in Chicago, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of the individuals on there were from someone's church. But nonetheless, you got a question for are you taken aback by that? I'm sorry. Yes,
I know. I'm curious too. Did you find this therapeutic at all? Writing this, did it help at all?
And that's what when I got it, down to where I felt like I could really talk about it. I called my aunt, and then I called my mother. And I said, "Mom, all right, I just did this story. It's about Dad's church." She said, "Josh, what did you say?" And then I said, "Okay, Aunt, I had to make sure that I hit the key people in my family to say, okay, this is what's getting ready to come out. Let me tell you now." And she said, "Well, has it served its purpose?" That's what my aunt said. And I said, "You know what?" I said, "I feel more free now telling it." I said, and that's why I was very determined and strict on not using anyone's name.
Because it's your story.
I said, "You can tell my truth, but it's nobody." And I said, because that's my only promise to God with writing this article or having it written, is that I would tell my truth, but I wouldn't expose, because that's not my job.
It's not. It really is. That was one of the things that got me so upset about the page too.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's nobody's business.
Because I remember being exposed, and I wasn't ready.
Some
And
people
you were
just
so
aren't.
young.
Some
It's
people
not
just
fair.
aren't.
And some people, you don't come back from that.
Some people don't. Real quick, I want to just kind of touch on. I see all y'all on Facebook, man, checking in and watching. We appreciate you all. What's going on to everybody? Listen, go ahead and join in the conversation with us. You can give us a call. I think, are we taking phone calls in here? I don't know if you're taking phone calls in here. We might be taking phone. 708-223-8953. If you just want to call in, talk to Ambassador London yourself, or talk to us, because it is Rick's room. You can talk to us too, and maybe share your story. Obviously, some sentiment to what we're talking about as well. Mr. Al Young said, "Preachers' children are held to the same standard, the unrealistic standard that they hold the preacher to. It's not fair to the first family. Their lives are held under a microscope." And very, very true.
Very true.
Mr. Otis Ross checking in and said, "A few of my friends know." Okay. The person who had the page, and they were petty and not classy for that. And you're absolutely right. That's one of the things that I agree with individuals who feel that way. Like, that was just a horrible way to do that. But
I think that's why I follow. Because I remember doing some things that I said, "Yep, I cannot run for mayor, president," because I just know at some point those pictures and videos.
Maybe we need people like that in office. People like that in office. Yo, speaking of the midterms. Okay, I get you. I understand. The midterms just came. Get a chance to get on the vote. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. All right. Great. So, real quick, let me do some things here. Today's show is being brought to you by Total Environmental Specialists. With the flu season upon us, Total Environmental Specialists are at your door, ready to disinfect and decontaminate your house, preventing the spread of the flu virus that could be attacking your family. Using advanced technology powered by Steramist that is EPA registered, Total Environmental is there to fight back and make your home safe by preventing the spread of viral bacteria. They got a sale going on for flu season, y'all. So check out Total Environmental Specialists for more information or to schedule a consultation. Reach out to Ray Fron, owner and operations manager, 708-243-6809. Tonight's show is also being brought to you by Lady Renee and her new book, Behind the Scenes. Check out newly published author Lady Renee and her brand new book, Behind the Scenes, a story about sexual abuse, mental illness, and sexuality with a twist. Purchase your copy of Behind the Scenes on Amazon.com. That's by Lady Renee. Really, really good too. I got a chance to start reading it, man. Y'all should pick it up on Amazon.com, as well as, listen, that flu season, sometimes washing your hands just ain't enough. And sometimes it just ain't enough. So reach out to Ray Fron, owner and operations manager at Total Environmental Specialists. Keep your comments coming here on Facebook. We see a lot of you all out there. Naomi Cooner, is that Cooner? Who said exposing page was wild. All right, we're not gonna get on this exposing page. All right, y'all. It was just a thing. They were just a mention.
I have some questions still.
Go ahead.
And we'll say that I saw your promotion ambassador for the ones that are brave, and you're the voice. And maybe someone now will be able to go back and say, I was going to leave them so nobody saw us dipping.
It's okay.
I dropped my glasses. So some of my questions, the title, Losing My Religion. Have you lost your religion, or did you where is that title fitting? I'd love to know more.
Well, I didn't choose the title.
Okay.
It was definitely thought up, but it's so key because religion is so different from relationship. And religion is what we're taught. And faith is what we come to know. And I know religion also well. Like I said, being brought up Pentecostal, Kojic, they teach you religion.
That organized religion.
They teach you religion.
Yeah.
And I told my mom, I said, well, I really don't think I want to be called a Christian anymore. I'm a believer.
Wait, what we believe in?
Let's get that situated first. What we believe in
Right.
first.
What we believe in.
Let's believe. Let me find out what we believe in
But
first.
before Christians became Christians, they were called believers. And so
Because
organized
we
religion.
were Jews. We came from Judaism.
And organized religion
No,
started
Get
a
some
lot of that.
education.
Yeah,
No.
they started a lot of that whole Christianity thing, and they call you Christians because it's who you are like. You're Christ-like. And I could be Christ-like, but I don't want to be called a Christian because I don't associate myself with a lot of that. I don't like, as another thing a preacher's kid do, a lot of us don't go to church anymore. Like, I couldn't tell you the last time I stepped inside of a church. And Austin and Bishop T.D. Jakes, and I'll let them preach, and Joel Osteen to smile for 30 minutes. I put my money on the table, walk back around, pick it back up. I say, look how fast God gave that back to me.
Come on,
And-
Missionary Bedside Baptist.
Yeah, and so that's I got it back. I'm sowing into myself. And if I sow into myself, I can help somebody else. And so I sow into my mission and being the face of things, or the voice of things, or the face of hope. And I try to change my life, because the religious part about it, did I lose religion? Absolutely. Because in a lot of that, with the molestation and the being gay, and then finding out I was HIV positive, a lot of my church members turned their back on me. Like, I would go to church, and when I found out I was positive, I found out on a Wednesday, it was July 13th, and that Sunday, I took the piece of paper to church and passed it around the church. And I did it because I grew up with those same, colored people. And I knew,
every now and then you got to refer to.
Yeah, those colored
we got to just call them,
because I knew their mentality, and I knew how they handled other people, and they would try to hold things over you. And as long as
I
keep
see.
it
You
secret,
took the power.
I took the power from them, and I didn't know that then. I thought I had snapped, but I didn't know that God was getting me out of bondage from that. And a lot of them would shake the hands of the people next to me, and then walk all the way around the church to shake the other person's hand on the other side of me, instead of crossing over, shaking my hand. They didn't want to touch me.
So from 15 to 23, you stayed in the church. You
I
continued
stayed
going
in the same church. Yeah. Even after 23.
Wow.
I stayed in the same church.
How did they treat you? It sounds like you were.
They didn't do well. It wasn't Christ-like, so they shouldn't be called Christians either. But it wasn't Christ-like, and I was set down. I couldn't sing. I couldn't do anything in the church.
Was your father set you down, or
No? Well, no, he died right when it was coming out.
okay?
So I was set down, later on. But it's and the crazy part is the church can know you're gay. You just can't say you're gay. Like, they know.
Now that right there,
No, seriously.
that's a real thing.
They
That's a
can know
real thing.
you're
They
gay,
can
but
know
you
you're
can't
gay,
say
Like,
it.
but you can't
I
come
know
out.
what you mean.
The people who are gay, the church know.
Mm-hmm.
The ministers of music, the church know. Because they ain't never seen them with no woman.
Of music though. Why we always gotta go to them? Like, let's call some of them deacons that
well,
the same
I
people
didn't
loving
sleep
too.
with the
Right.
deacons.
All right.
It was the pastors,
Okay.
the bishops, and the ministers
Come
of
on.
music.
I mean, if you just gonna go up there,
Yeah, because I wouldn't go sleep with a deacon.
No, you're-
If
no,
I
you're
was go
welcome.
sleep with somebody.
No, you're welcome.
Going with somebody that was go pull in the offering.
Right.
They had something to lose.
Deacons just go collect the offering.
You said you want the ones that's collecting.
I mean, at least give me tithes. But seriously, but the church can know that you're gay, but as long as you don't say you're gay, they're okay with you, and they'll call it a struggle. And I tell people all the time, there's a big difference between a struggle and secrecy, because a struggle don't make plans at night. A struggle don't set up booty calls. A struggle don't no that's secrecy.
That makes sense to me now. I
Yeah.
never understood
It's
why.
a secret, and they call it a struggle, but they're not struggling because they set up the appointment.
Right.
They call me.
But they
And
feel
then
more
I
comfortable
dated-
feeling you're struggling.
No,
Is it for them or
it's for them?
it's for
It's
them?
And as long as you don't say you're gay, the church is okay with that. And then I've dated preachers back in my day that they would be dogging the LGBT community.
Does it have families? Really?
Dogging the community.
Mhm.
And then would sit down and text me what color underwear to have on when they got to the house.
Oh, wow.
So as a young man in the church, how do you decipher which one was from God? Like you just told me all this about me, that he hates me and that I'm no good and I'm all that, but he hate me and he made me, but you love me?
Or don't. I mean,
would they say in private that they love you despite
just,
the message
oh,
that they're
yeah,
putting
yeah,
out during
yeah.
the day?
And some of them, I knew their wives. We went shopping together. They knew me, but they didn't care, because as long as they got the offering and as long as they got the title and the Memphis send-off and the convocation offering and all that and the clothes, we can go shopping together. You
But
don't
they didn't know
around.
about you. Didn't they just think he's
No.
helping you and you're
They
part
knew
of the
he was helping
church?
me in that part of the
Really?
church.
quote unquote.
I'm so
Helping.
naive to this.
And so that's what I'm saying. It happens all the time, more than people think it do. But as long as you're not talking about it, they're okay with it. They have, a lot of them, they have never seen them with a woman, and they ain't gonna ever see them with a woman. But as long as they don't ever stand up and say I'm gay, you can still do whatever you want to in the church. But me, my dumb self, I just went out when they exposed me. I just took the doors off the hinges. I said, well, since you go,
You're gonna be exposed, and you're gonna get exposed.
Yeah.
You get exposed.
Well, I wasn't exposed.
No,
You didn't
no,
expose
no.
them. What'd you do?
Well, my best friend, she knows. Like, I have a laptop, and I told her, I said,
You were holding it all within and not sharing this information with even your friends.
I laptop, but I mean, I got pictures and videos. So I told my best friend, I said, if something happened to me,
Wow.
don't come to me. Don't come see about me. Go to my house and get this laptop.
My pearls.
I said,
wait, did you bring your laptop with you today?
No,
Okay, all right.
And I know
Juicy.
and I know she watched it.
Juicy laptop.
Look,
I'm
Hey,
sorry.
best friend.
I'm sorry that
listen, let's talk to best friend for a second about that laptop.
right. And so I told her, I said, either you could definitely destroy it if you're not gonna do nothing with it. But if you want to hold on to it and use it for leverage, you know the passwords, whatever, do you. But I said, it happens so much in the church, and it's so many people dealing with this and nobody's talking about it. Like, and I'm please, if the family is watching, forgive me for bringing this up, but it was out there on Facebook. But a young guy in Ohio on October 22nd, church organist, dedicated to the church, played every Sunday, every choir rehearsal, every outing, and the church bullied him so much. 23 years old, I think he was, bullied him so much so till he went home and committed suicide.
Crazy.
And then the same people that probably bullied him was sitting there at his funeral. How do you reckon with God for that? Like, that's a life, that's a soul that you just ended. And then the church go say, if he committed suicide, God, he going to hell. There's no forgiveness for it. There's no forgiveness for you turning your back on somebody. There's no forgiveness for you running people away from God.
They don't see it that way.
And they don't see it that way. They see it as God don't. How can you tell me what God like and what he don't when man wrote the Bible?
Well, you know what? Listen.
And King James Version.
Not even that. You got so many different denominations that have so many different
versions and
from
teachings.
Exactly.
And then you got and one person stopped talking to me because I said I am a Christian at that time. Said I'm a Christian that don't believe everything the Bible says, and that's just me because I wasn't there. That's a story that was told. If you don't have a relationship, I could tell you. Rick could tell me all day about you, but until I walked in here and met you for myself, it would just be stories that I heard about you. It's up to me if I want to believe it.
And you may make a whole different determination and you don't even agree with the story Rick told you after you meet the person yourself.
Then I tell people all the time,
I consider you a horrible person. And you mention like, oh my God, I love her.
Right. I tell people all the time, and they go, oh, well, you gotta read Jesus' words because they're the ones in red. I didn't type those in red. Hell, I don't even know if he said that. Like, are you serious? So I'm supposed to just really take what you okay. And then you go from that to that you don't know what Jesus said, what the Bible says, what the church say. And so if you really don't know him, you lose yourself in religion, and it's no longer about relationship.
Let me jump in here on Facebook. We got a couple of people commenting. And Naomi Connor, I'm so sorry. It's Connor. When I got a chance to look down at it, I'm like, oh, I need glasses. Hey to you. Chef Barry Coleman is checking in and said, Pretty Ricky, thank you for giving people real talk education. Then coming from a PK kid, love you all the way from Chicago. This is Roll Tide Roll. He loves, Alabama's his thing. Roll Tide. This is what he does. Ray Franz said a lot of great points being made. It takes a very strong person to tell his story. At the end of one's life, it's not the church that judges a person. It's God himself. Don's checking in. What's going on? She says, because the church is full of sinners and it's easier to point out the plank in another person's eye than getting the one out of your own. Not to mention, they forgot there is no one sin above the other. At the end of the day, we all fall short every day. And absolutely right. Absolutely right. Listen, let me ask this question because with you got we talked about a message earlier, and I'm going to get to your hashtag prep your parishioners too later because I think that is just absolutely amazing. When we talk about the going out and trying to be the ambassador for PKs or just the community in general, where are some of the places that you've been targeting? What that message is. I guess maybe we should start. What is that message that you're being the face of, and where are you going to show that message or spread that message? Well, I mean, I don't just identify with the preacher's kid. I am LGBTQ. I'm same gender loving. I'm Black. I'm a preacher's kid, but I'm also a person that found out he was HIV positive at 23. And so I do a lot of my mission with that. And it's good that you asked about that because I started an Instagram page called Prep Your Parishioners. And I remember being this young preacher's kid that because the faith led the family, and the family sometimes didn't agree with what I felt my life was, they really didn't have a lot to do with me. And so you find yourself out there, and I would paddle back and forth on Belmont and Halsted. And here I had a family that had churches and houses. And I would find myself out there sleeping with people as a young guy, trying to find us. I didn't know where I was going to sleep and what I was going to eat. So sometimes I slept with them, and it was about survival. It was if we kicked it and it was good that night and we want to continue it, then we kept it going. If not, then the next day I was on another mission. And I believe that if the church really be real, they talk about abstinence, and I'm taking nothing away from abstinence being taught in the church. But if you're preaching every Sunday for 20 something years, abstinence, but all of your young members are pregnant, guess the message isn't getting across. And you got to sit everybody down because they can't do nothing in the church because they're pregnant or they got somebody pregnant. Then obviously the message is not reaching. So then you need to think about, okay, if the rest of my message is reaching, because before they come to God, they go to a person. You go see a person before you see God, and God can only do so much for you. He can't do everything.
And when the message from God is related that you're bad, you're a sinner for doing what you're doing, why would you even go to God in the first place?
You'll go to somebody, you do what I did. You'll go to somebody that agrees with you, but sometimes it leads you into the arms of people who don't have your best interests in heart and not tell you that they're HIV positive. And so I feel the church preach the abstinence thing if you must. But I believe for cultural relevance, it should be mandated that every church should put in their bulletin the name and the name of the place and the address to the clinic that's nearest to the church that you go to.
And is that what
Because
like
I
Prep Your
love that
Parishioners is about?
concept.
Yeah, it's prep your parishioners, because PrEP is a pill that people use to keep them from contracting HIV/AIDS.
I was just about to go there
Yeah.
because for some of y'all that don't know it,
But
and it's
no,
hashtag
yeah,
PrEP,
on that.
PrEP. PrEP is
Yeah, it's
pre-exposure
prophylaxis.
prophylaxis, right?
And so you take this one pill to keep you from contracting it or it being spread. And so if the church could preach abstinence, but also prep their parishioners and tell them, okay, well, I can't hand you no PrEP. I can't give you no condom and no lube, but go to the clinic down the street
there
and
is a
get
clinic
seen
down the
about.
street. Yep.
If you really care about
Because
your
that's
parishioners
Exactly.
and want the best for them.
Because that's the best for them. Because once you finish telling them abstinence, next week, little Johnny pregnant again. And it's called to be over the flock of God. You're called to lead, and you should lead in every way. And if you want to talk about the Bible says first natural, then spiritual. You can't touch my spiritual side without touching everything natural. That I need somewhere to stay. I need food. I need money. I need this. I may need love. But if you can tap into those things, it's like people who are HIV positive that go to a clinic. Those people, you are not going to get retained into care if you cannot address the personal issues. Like if they don't have nowhere to sleep at night, coming to a clinic, they trying to think about, okay, how am I going to survive? And that's exactly what people that are sitting in the churches being taught religion and not relationship, and having to live up to the image of a PK or just a lay member. It's unbearable.
Shauna just chimed in too and said it's a shame more people don't know about PrEP, and I agree. I really don't understand, but you know, and I have a sister who's in the medical field. We were having a conversation once before, and she brought up a very good point, because my stance with PrEP was does for you, especially in the Black community, because Black women are still, you know, some of the highest cases of HIV, new HIV infections. You know, why don't they know about this? And she brought up a point. She said PrEP is really just prescribed for or suggested for individuals who are at high risk.
It's not preventative. It's not take
It is. It's preventative. It is preventative, but it's only suggested or recommended for individuals who are at high risk. She said,
and then we say in the medical field, what is high risk? Everything is a risk.
You would think, but what she said was that, you know, doctors aren't going to ask Black women that are coming in, hey, do you think your man might be sleeping around with another man or might be out there? And she was right. She was like, doctors
she's not going to say.
Right, exactly. You know, especially with Black women, like, you know, no shade of Black women, but Black women just can't grasp the fact that their man has had any type of sexual encounter with another man. Like, it's just a huge turnoff.
I've never had sex with another man.
Okay, so
I will.
I did not.
I'm not putting myself out there. Rick in Rick's room. Is anybody listening? Tap tap tap. Anybody hear me?
But you know, but it is a hang up for Black women, right? So Black women aren't going to go in the doctor's office and say, hey, I think there could be something going on and I need to ask about PrEP.
I'm raising my hand here, people, because I'm one of those. I'm going to use ignorant as far as not having the knowledge of this. Right. I really thought PrEP, my parishioners, was about letting them all know to be nice, like to each other. Like I thought it was more. I'm like, prepare them. I thought PrEP was prepare. Like prepare them for all the different, but I didn't realize it was standing for the other PrEP. I thought it was prepping, but not that prepping. So please explain for us people who just didn't know, especially how you explained it, Rick. Women, because I'm a Black woman and they were talking about Black women, and I'm really someone who's ignorant to this, should be taking this why? Explain why we would need it.
So it is a preventative pill. You take it once a day, and what it does is it eliminates the 99%, I believe, eliminates the contracting of HIV.
Just HIV, so, none of the other stuff.
None of the other STIs. And that's the thing, right? It's only
PrEP can only take you so far.
Oh, what's this? Explain this.
I want you to know
I
that
keep dropping stuff.
Ambassador London has come through with his own brand of condoms. All right.
Well,
if you are
they're not-
watching this on
they are not
Facebook
my
Live.
own,
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
I did co-brand with
There's a
one
condom, but
I need to see it.
I
I want it open.
Listen, you know, if my mama come in this room and see these condoms laying all over the place,
Did you lock
I'm
the
just-
doors? You
I'm
better
just-
not let your mother know.
I'm just gonna blow it up like a balloon.
We playing. Not house. Not
Draw
house.
faces on it.
So
Draw faces.
you mentioned
Anyway.
mom. We mentioned mom. How did your mother? Because it seems like your mother actually took it well, or at least you
No,
have a
in the
no.
beginning, my mother, she was something else. You know, she was taught. My dad is from Alabama. My mother's from Gulfport, Mississippi, and
My
so
family too.
yeah, and so she was born 1947. So and being under my father, she had that mentality too. And so when I found out, you know, about
I see why
well, you
they
know,
struggle with this kind of thing.
Mama always knows.
Mama always knows. Don't she? Like
So you didn't.
I told
have-
my mother
I
was like,
didn't-
I
I
didn't
didn't
know.
have
Like,
to tell
yes,
my
you did.
mother.
You saw my flicks.
But-
you saw my tapes. Okay,
I didn't go
whatever.
that far,
I'm just saying it. My mother, she found them.
But I did take the cover off of Elin Harris' book Invisible Life.
Love Elin Harris.
Me too.
I love Elin
Me
Harris.
too.
At that time, we were taking
Gone
the
too
cover
soon.
off
I know, right?
and
Wasn't he?
rewrapping them with like newspaper or brown paper bags. You could rewrap it. So I was rewrapping the and my mother knew that I was not a studious child. Nah, I went to
So once you found a book, you couldn't wait
Right.
to read cover to
me,
cover.
I know the Bible. I could quote that. But when she was like, "Are you reading?" You know, and then I went to a Kojic school, so that didn't help. I was Kojic church, Kojic school. Yeah, we just knew Kojic. They taught us how to read our Bible. They taught us more things too. They did.
Listen.
They taught us more things. I just didn't learn it.
Yes, he did.
I didn't know that was a Kojic
yeah,
school.
yeah,
Me neither.
That's new for me.
yeah. But my mother, she was like,
Kojic is Church of God
Church
in
of God in
Christ.
Christ.
Just want to
Mhm.
make sure of that. Okay.
and so she was totally against it and didn't come around a lot. We didn't see eye to eye. And then when I found out I was positive, she took me to my clinic and a person and her hightailing it out the clinic. But now it took me dying a couple of times. Like I flatlined 3 times, and you know, I've had cryptococcal meningitis and cryptosporidium and esophagitis and staph.
That sounds bad. I don't know what it is, but boy, it
with
don't
all
sound
them,
like
right,
you-
all them
those-
syllables.
All
couple of
those-
symptoms,
all those-
embolitis.
all those are opportunistic infections people contract if they are an AIDS patient. Now, when I found out my T cells, which is your immune system, my T cells were at 79. So anything under the mark of 200 is no longer considered HIV. It's considered AIDS, not full blown. That's stuff black people say. Not full blown, but it's just HIV or AIDS. And so I was an AIDS patient, finding out coming right out the back, open to all of that. So if you sneezed in the same room with me, you would be fine, but I would have to go straight to the hospital.
Yeah.
And so they were more contagious to me than I was to them. And so then my mom started going into the bathroom. After I would come out, she would go and bleach the bathroom. Bleach became the new aroma of the house.
Wow.
And it was, yeah. And I couldn't use nothing but paper plates and paper napkins. And I mean, it was just, everything was disposable. And what changed her was when the last time I flatlined was in 2008 in Atlanta. And she sat next to my bed for a month. I was in the hospital and she was writing in a journal and she talked to God, and we don't know what happened to the book, but I believe that was God time with her to get her, you know, to see what was going on. And so now my mother is at every event. She's, you know, and I try to paint a good picture. I'm like, yeah. Tell him how I made you sleep on the floor.
She wants
Tell
them
them
all.
right, exactly. Tell all of it.
Right. So I'm like, well, here, pass her the mic. So she finishes, you know, pretty much preaching for me. And now she is at every HIV thing. She is at is like right there.
So real quick, because we have to wrap up here a bit. It always goes fast here in Rick's room. I'm going to talk about something real quickly. Angela Stockley says, knowing about PrEP is one thing, affording it is another. Is it now cost effective for the ones engaging sexually of lower incomes? Shauna says insurance won't cover it, and insurance either. I, for one, can't afford it, even though I work. I want you all to know that you can get coverage for PrEP. You can get coverage. You can get coverage. I mean, PrEP given to you by clinics.
Yes, you can.
Right. There are so many ways to get it. You don't necessarily have to worry about insurance covering it.
And
you can
if they want to know, they could,
Right. I was going to ask real quick before we wrap up. What are some of the ways that they can get in touch with you? So we can kind of put it here as well. So they can further their support and the information that they need to get all of the things that they need to get.
Well, you can find me on Facebook. I'm Fallen Rick, and you guys are seeing us tag together. But also on Instagram, I am a Face of Hope. So just type in a Face of Hope, and you could follow me there. Or you can email me at londonbenson@gmail.com. Or you can call my office, and it's 219-501-6612. So however you want to get in contact with me, and if you call at any time of the night, if it's forwarded over to me, I'll roll out of my sleep to sit up and talk to you, because I wish I could have set up and talked to some of my friends that I had to bury.
Listen, I really appreciate, London, what you are doing, what you continue to do, and whatever we can do, whatever I can do to help with that cause, man, with the message. I am here. I'm glad that we had a chance to get you in Rick's room and talk about this today. And man, great job on the article. And you got a couple of other things coming up, man. Some big things coming up, man. So I don't know about you. Get his autograph before. So, but look, thank you so much for coming out today, and we're gonna get back with you and get your information posted here as well. Miss Wanda B, it was so good to have you in the room again tonight.
Thank you for having me. I've learned something today.
Hey, that's what happens in Rick's room. Every now and then you learn something. You know what I mean?
I'm going to go search my nearest clinic and
get your girlfriends on PrEP or whatever.
Right.
Everybody's
gonna get PrEP.
As always, special thanks to Mr. Al Young from Al Young Enterprises, providing resources in performance and production engagements, artistic development, personal image consulting, and now your dining needs with EAT by IY Roman numeral 3. That's everything Al touches. Contact Al by giving him shoot an email, Al Young Roman numeral 3 @me.com. Whatever you do, do it with passion. Thank you so much, y'all, for tuning in on Facebook Live, on IntellectualRadio.com, all around on YouTube, wherever you were tuning in. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being in the room. Now get out.
Dang.
How you doing?
Yeah.